Welcome to the world of ancient trade and incredible adventures. Tonight, we're journeying with Marco Polo to the dazzling Far East. Settle in, find your coziest spot. Maybe tuck your feet under a blanket. Adjust that cushion just so. There's no rush at all, just gentle breathing and quiet contemplation as we drift back through the centuries. So, tell me, where are you unwinding right now? And what time of day is it for you? Is it the peaceful hush of evening? Or perhaps the gentle stirrings of morning in your wonderfully busy life? It's good to have you with us, wherever and whenever that may be. If you're enjoying these journeys, consider subscribing so you never miss an adventure. Now close your eyes and imagine you are that keen observer, that burgeoning diplomat, stepping out onto the dusty, well-trodden paths of the ancient Silk Road, the scent of spices and distant lands already beginning to fill the air, a world away from the familiar canals of Venice. You stand on the docks of Venice, the salty spray a familiar greeting on your face, mingling with the sharper tang of drying fish. The hum of the city, a constant, vibrant pulse, is punctuated by the cries of gulls wheeling overhead. Marco Polo, a man whose eyes seem to hold the glint of distant horizons, turns to you, a weathered map spread across a barrel. He offers you a position as his scribe and observer, a chance to document the wonders of the East, a task you embrace with a youthful, boundless eagerness. The air itself seems thick with the promise of adventure, carrying the mingled scents of spices from docked ships, cloves, cinnamon, and something richly floral you can't quite name, all carried on the sea breeze. Marco presents you with two initial tasks, a practical way to begin your new role. He gestures towards a stack of worn ledgers, filled with meticulous records of trade and goods, and then to the ship's hull, where intricate carvings depict mythical beasts and sailing scenes. You find yourself drawn to the meticulous order of the ledgers, a practical approach to understanding the flow of commerce, seeing it as the bedrock of any grand venture. However, the artistic detail of the ship's carvings also calls to your observer spirit, promising a visual language of its own. Ultimately, you choose to organize the ledgers first, believing a solid foundation of record-keeping is paramount to grasping the scope of Marco's ambitions. This choice to focus on the ledgers, a task requiring careful attention and a discerning eye for detail, sets a tone for your early days. You realize that understanding the sheer volume and variety of goods traded, silks from Cathay, precious stones from India, rare herbs from Persia, is as crucial as admiring the craftsmanship of the ships that carry them. The sheer scope of these records hints at the vast networks of exchange that Venice is part of, a world far larger than the familiar canals and palazzos. You begin to see how goods and the wealth they generate are the silent threads that bind distant lands together, a concept that fascinates you as you trace the inked lines and figures. As you work, a seasoned sailor, his face tanned and creased from countless voyages, pauses to watch you. He notices your focused effort on the ledgers and offers a gruff nod of approval, a small gesture that feels significant. He points to a particular entry detailing quantities of pepper, a spice highly prized for its flavor and preservative qualities, and remarks that such meticulous accounting ensures the merchants don't end up with more stones than spices. This simple interaction offers a touch of humor and a reminder of the practical realities behind the grand ambitions, making your task feel both important and grounded. Meanwhile, across the busy harbor, the merchants are making their final preparations. You catch snippets of conversations about the expected journey, the vast distances to be covered, and the potential for both immense riches and unforeseen dangers. You learn that Venice, as a powerful maritime republic, thrives on these long-distance exchanges, constantly seeking new markets and exotic commodities. This outward-looking ambition is etched into the very fabric of the city, from the proud sails of its ships to the bustling energy of its marketplaces, a spirit that Marco Polo embodies so completely.
The scent of spices from the docked ships, carried on the breeze, seems to grow stronger as the day progresses, a potent reminder of the destinations that await. You imagine the peoples and landscapes these spices represent, a tapestry woven from countless threads of trade and travel. It's a world that has always seemed distant, almost mythical, but now, with Marco's offer, it is becoming tangible, a reality you will soon experience firsthand. The sheer variety of scents, the sharp pepper, the sweet cinnamon, the earthy cardamom, creates a complex perfume that fuels your anticipation. Marco returns, wiping his brow with the back of his hand, his eyes still alight with the vision of the East. He asks about your progress, and as you show him the organized entries, a flicker of satisfaction crosses his face. He explains that these ledgers are not just records of goods, but a map of economic relationships, a testament to the Venetian Republic's reach. He remarks that understanding the value and flow of commodities is like understanding the pulse of the world itself, a profound thought that resonates with you. He then shares a brief anecdote about a previous journey where a miscalculation in spice quantities led to a rather heated negotiation with a local governor. This bit of colorful history, laced with a touch of drama, underscores the importance of your work, adding a light, engaging moment to your learning. It's a reminder that behind every ledger entry lies a human interaction, a potential for both success and misunderstanding, which makes the task even more compelling. As the sun begins to dip towards the horizon, casting long shadows across the water, the ship's crew begins to prepare for departure. The rhythmic creak of timbers and the snap of canvas being unfurled create a symphony of anticipation. You feel a slight tremor of excitement mixed with a touch of apprehension. You are about to embark on a journey that will undoubtedly change your understanding of the world, a journey that begins here, on the familiar shores of Venice, with the promise of untold discoveries whispered on the sea air. The weight of this new responsibility settles into your understanding, a sense of purpose blossoming alongside the salt-laced breeze. The salty air of the Aegean Sea fills your lungs, a bracing change from the enclosed bustle of Venice. Your days aboard this ship, carved from stout timbers, are now a rhythm of routine and observation. The constant creak of the hull and the gentle slap of waves against the wood create a steady lullaby as you begin to grasp the ship's workings and the diverse characters who inhabit it. The aroma of roasted fish, seasoned with herbs from distant shores, blends with the ever-present tang of brine, a constant reminder of the ocean's embrace. Marco Polo, his gaze already fixed on the distant horizon, has shown a quiet appreciation for the diligence you demonstrated with his trade ledgers. This has earned you a closer look, and he now shares more of his intricate plans, murmuring details about the vast network of routes that stretch far beyond the familiar Mediterranean. This access allows you to begin learning the practicalities of this undertaking, understanding not just where you are going, but how you are going to get there. As you move about the ship, you find yourself drawn to the sailors, men weathered by sun and sea. You begin to pick up basic Greek phrases from the sailors, their words a string of unfamiliar sounds that gradually start to make sense. Similarly, you learn to distinguish the sharp, almost piercing cries of seagulls overhead from the deeper, more distant calls of land birds, signals that hint at the approaching shores. It is during these quiet moments that you encounter a seasoned Armenian merchant. His cloak, woven from thick wool, feels rough and sturdy beneath your fingers as you assist him with a display of his trade samples. He speaks of caravan routes that thread through lands to the north of the sea, tales of long journeys, and the immense distances covered by camel and horse, painting a vivid picture of the world that awaits you. His descriptions, coupled with Marco's confidences, begin to weave a complex tapestry in your mind. You see how the meticulous records you organized are not just numbers, but the very foundation of this ambitious voyage, keys to understanding the flow of goods and the potential for profitable exchange. This early focus on practicalities, rather than the more romantic notion of sketching the ship's hull, proves to be a solid beginning. As the ship glides through the clear blue waters, you start to gather more than just navigational knowledge. You learn to identify different types of sails and understand the crew's unspoken communication through hand signals and subtle nods. This understanding of how a complex operation like this ship functions smoothly becomes a valuable skill in itself, a way to anticipate needs and contribute to the collective effort. The Armenian merchant, sensing your eagerness to learn, shares not only his trade knowledge, but also a few practical tips for survival in the varied climates you will encounter. He speaks of conserving water and how to find shade when the sun's warmth becomes intense, observations that lodge themselves in your memory, preparing you for challenges yet to come. This period at sea is shaping you, transforming your initial youthful eagerness into a more grounded readiness. You are learning to see the world not just as a collection of sights, but as a system of trade, cultures, and human endeavor. The knowledge you absorb, carefully noted in your growing collection of personal observations, is already proving more substantial than you might have imagined. You find yourself changed by what you've encountered, your understanding of the journey deepening with each new interaction and observation on the vast, shimmering Aegean. Constantinople, a city of 1,000 splendors, greeted you with a sensory overload. Gleaming domes pierced the sky, reflecting the bright light, while below, marketplaces teemed with a chaotic, vibrant energy. The mingled smells of freshly baked bread, sweet floral perfumes worn by passing nobles,
and the earthy scent of livestock from the nearby stalls created a unique aroma that filled your nostrils. Beneath your sandals, the cool, smooth marble of the streets felt like a constant reminder of the city's enduring grandeur and its deep historical roots. This sprawling metropolis, the heart of the Byzantine Empire, felt like a world unto itself, far removed from the familiar quays of Venice. Marco, ever focused on the business of their journey, needed to procure specific dyes for their upcoming trade. He looked to you, recalling your diligence with his ledgers. You remembered how organizing those countless accounts, detailing ships and goods, had given you a practical understanding of trade's intricate workings, a skill Marco clearly valued. This foundation of meticulous record-keeping had earned his quiet confidence, and now he entrusted you with an important task: to navigate the city's complex mercantile landscape. Marco presented you with two options. You could seek out a Persian merchant whispered to possess rare and potent indigo, a color highly prized in the East, or you could approach a local Byzantine craftsman whose pigments were celebrated for their unparalleled vibrancy, though he was known to command a higher price and adhere strictly to traditional methods. This choice felt significant, a small but crucial test of your developing judgment. You found yourself drawn to the promise of established quality and a more predictable trading relationship. You decided to seek out the Byzantine craftsman. Prioritizing quality and familiar trade practices felt like the more prudent approach for your nascent understanding of international commerce. This decision reflected a growing inclination towards reliability over the allure of the unknown, a trait that Marco seemed to appreciate in your work. The exchange with the craftsman was a study in contrasts. His hands, stained with countless pigments, moved with a practiced artistry, and he spoke with a quiet pride about the ancient methods of his trade, a stark difference to the hurried dealings you had observed in some Venetian stalls. As you discussed the dyes, a street vendor nearby offered you a sweet fig. You accepted, the juice bursting in your mouth, a welcome sweetness that cut through the dry air. The taste was intensely satisfying, a simple pleasure in the midst of the city's overwhelming scale. Nearby, from within the walls of a grand church, the melodic sound of chanting drifted outwards, a calming counterpoint to the marketplace's bustle, and you took a moment to simply absorb the auditory tapestry of this foreign land. Your choice to secure high-quality Byzantine dyes proved to be a wise one. When presented, their rich, lasting colors were a testament to the craftsman's skill and your discerning eye. This success not only bolstered Marco's reputation for acquiring superior goods, but also subtly reinforced your own value within his endeavors, earning you a nod of approval that felt more rewarding than any monetary gain. Such tangible results began to shape your understanding of how careful selection and reliable sourcing could smooth the path ahead. The Byzantine Empire, you observed, was a place where history seemed to breathe in the very stone of its buildings, a realm of immense wealth and complex, far-reaching political ties. You began to grasp how certain goods, like these vibrant dyes, held a significance that transcended mere commerce, serving as symbols of status and prestige across different cultures. This realization deepened your appreciation for the intricate web of relationships that underpin the flow of trade, a lesson far more nuanced than simply counting coins.
It was during these observations that you met a young apprentice to a metalworker, who, amused by your eager questions, showed you a trick for polishing brass that made it gleam like gold, a small bit of practical knowledge shared between strangers. The path from Constantinople led you east towards the vast plains of Anatolia, where a great caravan was assembling. The sheer scale of this gathering was impressive, a moving city of people, pack animals, and goods stretching as far as the eye could see. The air here was a mix of dried herbs, the pungent scent of tanned leather from countless saddlebags and boots, and the ever-present dust kicked up by the thousands of feet and hooves that churned the earth. This immense undertaking, preparing to traverse formidable distances, made you acutely aware of the organized effort required for such a venture. Here, you began to absorb the practicalities of overland travel, a stark contrast to the sea voyages you had thus far experienced. You watched the caravan masters with keen interest, observing how they managed supplies, rationed water, and navigated by the patterns of the stars each night. You learned to distinguish the varied calls of the camels, their guttural groans and soft sighs becoming familiar sounds. This new environment demanded a different kind of vigilance, one focused on the land and its subtle rhythms.
Your diligent work in Venice, organizing Marco's ledgers, had provided you with a foundational understanding of trade, and this groundwork now allowed you to build more meaningful connections. You developed a working relationship with the caravan master, a gruff but fair man named Timur. He recognized your meticulous note-taking, not just of goods, but of routes and observations, and began to share more direct information with you, briefing you on the day's planned progress and potential dangers ahead. He even shared a surprisingly tender moment when he showed you his own small worn ledger of constellations, a stark contrast to his usual stern demeanor. As the caravan moved inland, your journey across Anatolia was marked by a growing understanding of the vast network of people and goods that converged here. You saw merchants from diverse lands, their faces etched with stories of long journeys, and witnessed the exchange of goods ranging from fine silks to sturdy pottery. The sheer scope of this enterprise made the world feel both larger and more interconnected than you had ever imagined. This region, a historical crossroads, offered a constant stream of new sights and sounds. The landscape began to change as you ventured further into territories that would eventually fall under the sway of the vast Mongol Empire. In the distance, the colossal structure of the Great Wall of China started to emerge, a serpentine line of stone and earth snaking across the rugged terrain, a palpable testament to the immense power and ambition of its builders. The air here carried the dry, almost sharp scent of mountain scrub, and on short scouting walks, you felt the unyielding texture of the earth beneath your feet, a constant reminder of the land's enduring, unyielding nature. You were now learning about the Mongol administrative system, a remarkably organized structure that governed these immense territories. This involved understanding the importance of proper introductions, the subtle nuances of deference, and the respect shown to authority. You observed the disciplined movements of Mongol patrols, their skilled horsemanship, and unwavering focus on their duties. The efficiency of their operations was remarkable, a stark contrast to the more fluid governance of some Western cities. Your first interactions with Mongol officials were imposing.
Their directness, their clear pronouncements, and their evident authority commanded immediate attention. You found yourself adjusting your own demeanor, adopting a more observant and respectful posture. A Mongol officer, his formidable armor gleaming under the bright sun, paused his duties to share information about caravan safety regulations with Marco, his words clipped and precise, conveying a deep understanding of the challenges of long-distance travel. The previous success with the Byzantine dyes had made your contributions more visible, and these early interactions with Mongol officials were smoother because of it. Your reputation for thoughtful acquisition and your role as Marco's scribe had opened doors for more detailed discussions about Venetian trade practices. And the dignitary who had admired your earlier work now seemed more willing to share insights into the broader trade routes that passed through their domain. This growing trust was a valuable asset. As the caravan continued its arduous trek, you began to understand the sheer variety of peoples and customs that existed beyond your own familiar world. The Mongol officials, for instance, demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of logistics and resource management, skills honed by the necessity of governing such a vast and diverse empire. You learned to recognize the subtle cues that indicate respect or potential disagreement, a vital skill for anyone seeking to navigate these complex political landscapes. This period of travel was also a time of personal adaptation. You found yourself developing a new awareness of your own physical resilience, learning to anticipate the needs of your body in varying conditions. The constant movement and exposure to the elements began to shape you, and you realized that your observations were not merely academic. They were becoming integrated into your very being, informing how you approached each new day. This journey was as much about discovering the world as it was about discovering yourself. The sheer scale of the Mongol administrative system, with its standardized procedures for caravan passage and its network of relay stations, was astonishing. You learned that certain historical figures within the empire had championed the standardization of weights and measures, a move that greatly facilitated trade across its vast expanse. This focus on uniformity, while perhaps stifling to some forms of local variation, undeniably contributed to the empire's remarkable economic interconnectedness. It was a fascinating aspect of how power shaped commerce. During a brief halt at a small settlement, you observed a local practice where villagers exchanged surplus produce for tools from a passing smith. This simple act of communal sharing, a familiar ritual in many cultures you had encountered, stood in contrast to the more formalized trade arrangements Marco often pursued. It highlighted how different societies approached the distribution of goods and the building of community ties, often through deeply ingrained traditions rather than strictly commercial transactions. You offered the smith a whetstone you had acquired, a gesture of goodwill that he accepted with a grateful nod. The vast distances and the diverse populations under Mongol rule naturally gave rise to occasional disagreements between different factions or groups within the caravans. You began to notice how the established hierarchy and clear lines of authority within the Mongol system were often employed to resolve these disputes, providing a framework for order. This orderly approach to conflict resolution was a stark contrast to the more informal or sometimes volatile methods you had witnessed elsewhere. It was during one such discussion with a local trader that he offered you a small pouch of potent, smoky tea, a bold flavor that jolted your senses awake.
You found yourself observing how a consensus was often built through patient negotiation and the careful presentation of evidence, a skill you were steadily refining. The Mongol officials, while firm, often allowed for considerable discussion before reaching a final decision, a process that aimed to ensure all relevant parties felt heard. This method of governance, balancing authority with a degree of deliberation, was an important lesson in the art of diplomacy and the management of diverse interests within a sprawling empire. It was a far cry from the swift pronouncements you had sometimes heard in Venice. The journey continued, each day presenting new landscapes and new peoples. Your earlier decision to prioritize quality in Constantinople had clearly set a positive precedent, and you felt a growing confidence in your ability to contribute to Marco's efforts. This confidence was not born of arrogance, but of a deeper understanding of the practicalities involved in traversing such immense distances and engaging with such varied cultures. The skills you were acquiring felt fundamental to your role. This process of observation and practical application has become part of your own story. You join a vast caravan already forming in Anatolia, a place where the lands of the East and West meet. The sheer number of people, animals, and goods astounds you, creating a constant, low hum of activity. The air here carries the mingling scent of dried herbs that have been baked by the sun, and the rich, earthy smell of tanned leather, filling the spaces between the jostling bodies. As you navigate through the throng, the dust kicked up by countless feet and hooves stings your eyes, a constant reminder of the journey ahead. Meanwhile, across the milling crowd, you begin to understand the practicalities of this overland travel. You watch the caravan masters with keen interest, observing how they manage their supplies, ensuring enough water and fodder for the long haul. Their knowledge of the stars, used to guide them through the trackless deserts and mountains, is a wonder to behold, and you find yourself memorizing the patterns they point out. You also start to distinguish the subtle, varied calls of the different camels, learning to recognize the sounds of the beasts of burden themselves. Building on this burgeoning understanding, you develop a working relationship with the caravan master, a man named Timur. He possesses a gruff exterior, but his fairness is evident in the way he commands respect. Timur notices your diligent note-taking, the way you meticulously record details, and as a result, he begins to brief you on the day's planned route and the potential hazards that lie ahead. This new level of trust allows you to anticipate the journey's challenges more effectively. The decision you made in Constantinople to secure high-quality dyes, prioritizing the Byzantine craftsman's renowned pigments, proves to be particularly valuable. Marco Polo has already shown these vibrant blues and rich reds to some of the local traders here in Anatolia, and they are exceptionally well received. This exchange has bolstered Marco's reputation, establishing him as a discerning merchant who deals in superior goods, and it subtly enhances your own standing as his scribe and observer. You find yourself moving between the settled areas where goods are prepared and the open spaces where animals are readied. The rhythmic creak of cartwheels and the occasional sharp bark of a dog punctuated the general murmur. The scent of roasting meat, prepared for the journey, wafted from nearby cooking fires, adding to the sensory tapestry of the camp. This organized chaos feels like the beginning of something significant, a preparation for traversing immense distances.
Further along, you observe the careful loading of supplies onto pack animals. The weight and balance of each bundle are crucial for efficient travel, and you note the experience of the handlers as they secure everything with rope and netting. The dry, slightly woody scent of straw used for bedding and padding adds another layer to the camp's olfactory profile. You feel the rough texture of the woven straps as you help secure a smaller load, the work demanding a careful hand. As you watch Timur consult with other caravan leaders, you absorb their discussions about water sources and potential resting points. The knowledge they share is practical, grounded in experience, and you diligently commit it to your notes, understanding its importance for your own survival and the caravan's success. The local vendors, offering dried fruits and nuts, add their calls to the general hubbub, their wares promising sustenance for the days ahead. The intricate tapestry of this temporary settlement, woven from countless individual efforts, begins to reveal a deeper understanding of collective survival. The sheer scale of cooperation required to prepare for such an undertaking is humbling, and you realize that your role, though seemingly small, is part of this larger, vital effort. This growing awareness prompts a quiet question in your mind. How do vast empires manage to coordinate such immense movements of people across diverse territories? And what does it say about their organizational power? As the final preparations are made and the vast train of animals and people begins to stir, you take your place alongside Marco. The ground trembles slightly with the movement of so many feet and hooves, and the collective breath of the caravan seems to draw the dusty air into itself. You have touched something larger than yourself, the organized pulse of the Silk Road beginning its rhythm once more.
The great sand sea stretches before you, an endless expanse of rippling gold under a sky of unwavering blue. You feel the sun's persistent warmth on your skin, a constant reminder of this stark environment. To escape its intensity, you find yourself shifting your weight, seeking the sliver of shade offered by your camel's broad saddle, a simple comfort in this vast emptiness. The silence here is profound, broken only by the rhythmic, soft padding of hooves on the fine grit and the occasional weary creak of wooden wagon wheels, sounds that become the very heartbeat of your journey. Your days are spent observing, learning the subtle rhythms of survival. You practice conserving the precious water from your skin, taking only small, measured sips, a skill vital for enduring this unforgiving landscape. Marco Polo, ever the pragmatist, has tasked you with identifying potential dangers, so you diligently scan the horizon for the telltale signs of an approaching sandstorm, the faint shimmering on the far edge of your vision, the change in the wind's whisper against your ears. You also practice making small, careful observations of the desert's resilient flora, noting the tough, waxy leaves of plants that manage to cling to life in this arid domain. Recently, a section of the caravan's planned path became difficult to traverse due to unexpected heavy rains further north, leaving the ground soft and boggy. Marco has asked you to scout for an alternative. You find yourself considering two possibilities. One route skirts a small verdant oasis, a tempting prospect for fresh water and a brief respite, yet it also presents the risk of encountering nomadic groups who guard such resources fiercely.
The other path, while slightly longer, stays in the more open, predictable terrain, avoiding the uncertainties of the oasis. Your previous decision in Constantinople to prioritize quality and familiar trade practices over immediate cost instilled in you a belief in the value of predictable, reliable routes. Therefore, you choose the longer, more open path, trusting that avoiding unforeseen complications is paramount for the caravan's continued safety and progress. As you travel, the taste of dried dates becomes a familiar and welcome companion. They are chewy and intensely sweet, a sharp contrast to the dry air that parches your throat and makes your tongue feel rough. You also find a grounding comfort in the familiar texture of your coarse woolen cloak. It's a tangible link to the life you left behind in Venice, a solid presence against the shifting sands and the vast, indifferent sky. The sheer scale of the desert often fills you with a sense of your own smallness, yet your assigned duties provide a necessary focus. Marco Polo, noticing your careful attention to detail and your measured judgment in choosing the safer route, has begun to share more of his thoughts on the caravan's progress. He speaks of the merchants who accompany them, their varied goods, and their hopes for profitable exchanges further east. This quiet approval, born from your diligent work organizing his ledgers back in Venice, means that you are privy to more of his planning, giving you a deeper understanding of the complex undertaking. It's a subtle affirmation that your early dedication has indeed paid dividends, allowing you to better serve his purpose. The caravan master, a gruff but fair man named Timur, has also taken notice of your meticulous note-taking. He sees you recording the daily progress, the number of camels loaded, and the reserves of water. Recognizing your diligence, he begins to brief you on the day's intended route and any potential hazards he foresees, such as areas where the ground might be uneven or where dust storms are more likely. This marks a significant development in your relationship, moving you from a passive observer to a trusted assistant, someone whose recorded observations contribute directly to the caravan's efficient movement. This shared information allows you to begin understanding the practicalities of overland travel in a way that simply reading about it could never achieve. You observe how the caravan masters manage the distribution of supplies, ensuring no one takes more than their allotted share, and how they navigate using the distant stars when the sun's glare obscures the horizon. You also learn to distinguish the distinct guttural calls of the different types of camels, a crucial skill for communicating with the animal handlers and understanding their needs. Amidst the steady rhythm of travel, a moment of levity arrives when one of the younger camel handlers, attempting to impress his peers, tries to mimic the sound of a rare desert bird with surprising accuracy, causing a ripple of laughter through those nearby. Later, while discussing water rationing with Timur, he wryly notes that the camels seem to have a better understanding of thirst than some of the mem, eliciting a shared chuckle between you. Such small moments of shared humanity cut through the starkness of the journey. Your decision to avoid the oasis, while perhaps less immediately rewarding in terms of resources, has kept the caravan on schedule. This adherence to a predictable pace is crucial for maintaining the trust of the various merchant groups who have invested their goods and their hopes in this expedition. They rely on Marco Polo's meticulous planning, and your contribution to that reliability strengthens their confidence not only in him, but also in the stability of the journey itself, ensuring a smoother passage through the more challenging terrains that lie ahead. As you make your observations, you also learn about a peculiar practice among some desert tribes. They believe that burying small polished stones at the base of certain thorny bushes can appease the spirits of the sand, ensuring safe passage. While the practicality of this custom is debatable, it speaks to the deep-seated beliefs and traditions that shape life in these lands, offering a glimpse into the rich tapestry of humanity that stretches far beyond the familiar horizons of Venice. You diligently record this detail, recognizing its importance in understanding the worldview of the people you might encounter. A more pressing matter arises as the caravan continues. There's a current scholarly debate among the learned men who have joined the expedition regarding the precise route taken by ancient traders. Some argue for a path further north, following historical texts that mention fertile river valleys, while others champion a more direct route, citing evidence of long-abandoned way stations in the current desert. Your own observations of the scarce water sources and the hardy, specialized flora suggest that any ancient passage must have accounted for these limitations, a perspective that you consider as you continue your own recording of the landscape. The taste of the dried dates, so intensely sweet, remains a vivid sensation in your memory. A small but significant comfort against the immense dry backdrop. The familiar texture of your coarse woolen cloak feels like a constant, reassuring presence, a reminder of your purpose and your connection to the world you represent. The learned men discuss the ancient trading routes, their words weaving into the tapestry of the desert silence. The camel handler's accurate bird call echoes softly in your mind. Your carefully chosen, predictable route allows the caravan to press onward. The knowledge of the tribe's stone-burying customs now lives in your memory. Bukhara unfolds before you as a dazzling tapestry of human endeavor, a true crossroads where the threads of countless cultures intertwine. The sheer density of the marketplace is breathtaking, a vibrant swirl of color and sound that seems to pulse with its own life. You find yourself drawn to the polished surfaces of intricately carved wooden stalls, their smooth textures a pleasant contrast to the rougher wool of your traveling cloak. While the clamor of voices, the sharp clang of metal being shaped by a smith, and the rich, pervasive scent of exotic spices like cumin and cardamom create a sensory symphony unlike any you have experienced before. This thriving oasis city hums with activity, a testament to the enduring power of trade along these ancient routes. Building on the safe passage your earlier decision ensured, you now navigate the bustling crowds with a growing sense of purpose, the resilience learned in the desert serving you well. Marco Polo's quiet approval of your diligence means he shares more of his expectations, and you feel a responsibility to meet them. You begin to practice the subtle art of haggling, watching closely as merchants exchange goods and coin, noting the careful negotiation and the respectful nods that accompany successful deals. Furthermore, you start recognizing the distinct shapes and markings of various currencies, a crucial skill for any who wish to truly understand the flow of commerce in this new world, while also picking up a few polite phrases in Turkic and Persian to aid your interactions. During this time, you are introduced to a local scholar, a man of quiet contemplation, whose presence brings a sense of calm amidst the market's fervor. He possesses a gentle demeanor, and the comforting, familiar scent of old paper clings to him, a smell you associate with the acquisition of knowledge. He speaks of Bukhara's long history and its intricate relationship with the various ruling khanates, offering you insights into the political currents that shape this region. This encounter provides a welcome intellectual respite, deepening your understanding beyond mere transactions and into the cultural heart of the city. Your learned caution in the desert, avoiding the unknown boggy terrain and the potential complications of an oasis route, proved to be a wise choice, ensuring the caravan arrived in Bukhara with all its supplies and its members intact. This successful arrival now opens new avenues for you and Marco, allowing for deeper engagement within the city's vibrant social and economic fabric. The caravan master's continued respect for your judgment means he now includes you in discussions about future route planning, a testament to your growing value within the expedition. The scholar, noticing your keen interest in the region's past, shares a story about a renowned artisan who uses crushed lapis lazuli for a vibrant blue pigment, a substance highly prized for its beauty and rarity. He explains that the techniques used to prepare this pigment are passed down through generations, representing a significant cultural heritage. This knowledge sparks an idea. Perhaps understanding these artisanal processes can offer a new perspective on trade, moving beyond the simple exchange of goods to a deeper appreciation of craftsmanship. Later, you witness a heated negotiation between a supplier of woven silks and a buyer from a distant land. The silk, in shades of saffron and deep crimson, feels impossibly smooth beneath your fingers as you examine it, its delicate threads hinting at the skill required in its creation. You observe how the buyer, understanding the intricate weaving process and the rarity of the dyes used, leverages this knowledge to secure a better price, demonstrating the connection between artistic skill and economic value. This interaction reinforces your belief that a nuanced understanding of production enhances one's ability to engage effectively in trade. The merchant who sells the vibrant blue pigment also offers you a taste of dried dates. Their chewy texture and intensely sweet flavor, a welcome sensation against the dry air that still lingers from your desert journey. He explains that the cultivation of date palms is central to the oasis economy, and that the quality of the dates often depends on careful irrigation techniques and the soil composition. This simple act of sharing food becomes an opportunity to learn about the land's bounty and the human effort required to coax it forth. Reflecting on these experiences, a question forms. How much of the true value of a region's offerings lies not just in the goods themselves, but in the stories of their creation and the cultural practices surrounding them? You find yourself increasingly drawn to the human element behind the commerce, the skills passed down through families, and the traditions that give each item its unique character. This growing appreciation for cultural context feels like a significant development in your own journey. You feel the significance of this deeper understanding of craftsmanship and culture in your bones. you find yourself within the quiet sanctuary of Bukhara's libraries, the scent of ink and parchment a familiar comfort after the bustling markets. Rows of scrolls and bound manuscripts stretch before you, each holding a piece of this vibrant region's past and present. The soft rustle of pages being turned by scholars nearby creates a soothing murmur, a stark contrast to the clamor outside. Marco Polo, ever observant, has tasked you with delving deeper into the customs and governance of this land, seeking to build understanding beyond mere trade. Building on your diligent work organizing Marco's ledgers, a task that earned his quiet approval and led to him sharing more of his plans with you, your current role emphasizes observation and careful articulation. You've spent days deciphering simple documents, your understanding of Turkic and Persian growing with each passing hour. This new familiarity with the languages allows you to grasp the nuances of local etiquette, making your interactions smoother. Just yesterday, you were able to distinguish the distinct trill of a nightingale from other birdsong, a small but satisfying marker of your deepening connection to this environment. A local dignitary, a man whose robes spoke of his status and whose gaze held a keen intellect, had expressed a particular interest in the Venetian glasswork Marco carried. Now, Marco expects your input on how to best present its value. You find yourself considering two paths for your explanation. Should you focus on the intricate techniques of glassblowing, detailing the skill and artistry involved, or should you emphasize its rarity and its potential as a prestigious gift? Your mind drifts to the skilled artisans you've observed in the market, their hands shaping molten glass with incredible precision. Ultimately, you decide to highlight the artistry of the glassblowing process. You believe that demonstrating the sheer craftsmanship, the dedication and skill poured into each piece, will foster a deeper respect and appreciation than simply speaking of its rarity. This choice reflects a growing understanding that true value often lies in the human effort and creative spirit behind an object, a concept you've begun to grasp through your scholarly pursuits. This focus aligns with your developing role as a diplomat, where understanding cultural values is as important as understanding market prices. You move to a quiet corner, finding a small table where a scholar is examining ancient maps. He offers you a slice of sweet honeyed pastry, its richness a pleasant surprise against the dry air. As you converse, you learn about the historical ebb and flow of power in this region, the rise and fall of khanates and empires. This man, with his quiet demeanor and the comforting smell of old paper clinging to him, shares anecdotes of past alliances forged through shared knowledge and mutual respect, further solidifying your belief in the importance of cultural understanding. He explains that in times past, disputes were often settled not by force, but by intellectual debate and the careful presentation of reasoned arguments. He recounts a story of a disagreement between two powerful families over water rights, a conflict that was ultimately resolved by a respected elder who meticulously mapped out irrigation channels and presented a plan that benefited both sides by demonstrating a shared reliance on the resource. This, he implies, is the true strength of a learned society, and you feel a resonance with your own developing skills. This particular scholar, whose name you learned was Arbaruni's descendant, has a curious habit of polishing his writing instruments with a fine silk cloth even when not actively writing. It's a small gesture, perhaps a way to maintain a sense of order and refinement in his surroundings, and it reminds you of the meticulous care you put into organizing Marco's ledgers back in Venice. That initial decision, a practical choice to organize records, now feels like the first thread in a much larger tapestry, weaving you into this ancient pattern of exchange and understanding. Marco had mentioned that a local dignitary was intrigued by Venetian glass. Recalling the dignitary's direct gaze and thoughtful questions, you begin to formulate your explanation. You describe how sand, soda ash, and lime are melted together at incredibly high temperatures, a process that requires immense skill and precise control. You speak of the long history of glassmaking in your homeland, passed down through generations of artisans who have perfected their craft. Your description emphasizes the vibrant colors that can be achieved, from deep blues to emerald greens, and the delicate swirling patterns that can be coaxed from the molten material. You explain how skilled artisans use long blowpipes to shape the glass, creating everything from intricate vessels to fine beads. This artistry, you articulate, is what makes Venetian glass so prized, a testament to human ingenuity and a beautiful expression of culture. The scholar nods appreciatively as you speak, his hand pausing its work with the parchment. He points to a section of a historical text indicating a passage that describes the importance of skillful craftsmanship in forging diplomatic ties between kingdoms. He explains that in this land, too, the quality of gifts and the understanding of their creation were seen as reflections of the giver's character and respect for the recipient. This corroborates your chosen approach, bolstering your confidence in your diplomatic efforts. You also take a moment to share an observation about the local governance, noting how appointments are often made not just based on lineage, but on demonstrated ability and knowledge. This is a point of contrast with some other regions you have heard about, where birthright often dictates position. This understanding of their meritocratic leanings, however subtle, is crucial for tailoring your interactions and ensuring your words are well received. It shows a genuine effort to understand their societal structure. As you conclude your thoughts, the scholar offers a small, almost imperceptible smile. He then gestures towards a specific section of the library, where astronomical charts are meticulously drawn. He explains that understanding the stars was vital for both navigation and for determining auspicious times for important events, such as trade agreements or political meetings. He notes that a current scholarly debate revolves around the interpretation of certain celestial patterns and their potential influence on regional stability, a fascinating piece of information to store away. The discussions with this scholar and your time spent in the quiet contemplation of these ancient texts have been profoundly enriching. You've learned that the exchange of goods is only one part of the vast network of the Silk Road. The exchange of ideas, knowledge, and cultural appreciation is equally, if not more, important. Your choice to focus on artistry in explaining Venetian glasswork rather than mere rarity feels increasingly wise, sowing seeds for genuine connection. Your engagement with the local artisans and scholars, combined with your growing linguistic skills and your earlier decision to prioritize quality in Constantinople, has helped solidify your reputation. This refined understanding of cultural value, rather than simply transactional worth, has allowed you to grasp the subtler currents of diplomacy. You feel a burgeoning sense of purpose, realizing that your observations are not merely notes for a ledger, but tools for building bridges between distant lands. As you pack away your notes for the day, the lingering taste of the honeyed pastry, a pleasant reminder of the morning's exchange, you feel a deep satisfaction. The knowledge you are gathering here in Bukhara is not just about trade routes or market prices, it is about understanding people, their histories, and their aspirations. This deeper insight is what will truly allow you to serve Marco Polo and, perhaps, to contribute to a more connected world. Your thoughtful consideration of the dignitary's interest has woven you into this ancient pattern. The landscape shifted, revealing a land carved by powerful winds and ancient earth. As the caravan pressed onward, the sheer scale of the Mongol Empire's presence became undeniable. The immense structure of the Great Wall of China, a serpentine dragon of stone and earth, began to appear on the distant horizon, a stark testament to the vast power that now governed these territories. The dry scent of mountain scrub filled the spaces around you, a constant reminder of the arid, untamed beauty of the north. During a short scouting walk ahead of the main column, the rough texture of the packed earth beneath your worn sandals felt solid and familiar, a grounding sensation in this new and imposing realm. Your time in Bukhara, especially those moments spent in quiet study with the local scholar, had prepared you for this. You had learned to appreciate the subtle nuances of administration and the importance of knowing how to present yourself with respect when dealing with authority. This knowledge proved increasingly vital as you observed the disciplined movement of Mongol patrols, their swift horses and watchful eyes a constant presence on the periphery of your journey. They moved with a purpose that spoke of a well-ordered system, one that demanded careful navigation from travelers like yourselves, and you diligently noted their routines. This growing understanding of Mongol ways began to shape your interactions with their officials. Your first encounters were with men whose directness and authority felt imposing, their gazes sharp and assessing. Yet, as you navigated these introductions with the deference you had learned, a different aspect of their society began to emerge. A Mongol officer, his armor gleaming like polished bronze under the pale sunlight, paused to share information about the caravan's safety regulations, his voice a low rumble that carried across the dusty ground, offering valuable insight into the rules of this land. Meanwhile, the careful groundwork laid during your time in Bukhara continued to yield benefits. Your decision to highlight the intricate artistry of Venetian glassblowing rather than its market value had resonated deeply with the local dignitary. This had opened doors for more detailed discussions about Venetian trade practices with members of his entourage, fostering a sense of genuine interest that extended beyond mere commerce. This cultural appreciation, a direct result of your earlier thoughtful approach, eased your passage and enhanced Marco's reputation as a man who understood more than just profit. As the caravan approached the formidable Great Wall, its sheer immensity was a physical manifestation of the empire's reach. The dry scent of mountain scrub, previously a subtle note, now seemed to permeate everything, carried by a persistent breeze that rustled through the sparse vegetation. You felt the rough texture of the earth beneath your feet as you took a short walk to observe the landscape, a sensory connection to the land that was becoming increasingly important to your understanding of the world. This vast structure, an awe-inspiring barrier and a symbol of unified control, signaled your entry into a new phase of your journey. Your initial interactions with the Mongol officials, though brief, provided a valuable education in the empire's administrative system. You learned that proper introductions and a clear display of deference were not mere courtesies, but essential elements for safe passage and successful trade. Observing the disciplined movement of Mongol patrols, you began to recognize patterns in their patrols and the way they communicated with each other. A silent language of hand signals and subtle shifts in posture that indicated their constant vigilance. This observation honed your own ability to read situations and anticipate needs. This practical learning was further reinforced by a conversation with a seasoned Mongol officer whose polished armor gleamed under the sun. He shared details about caravan safety regulations, his voice carrying an inherent authority that demanded attention. His explanation was clear and to the point, touching upon matters of checkpoint procedures and the importance of accurate manifest documentation. He emphasized that adherence to these rules was not optional, but a fundamental requirement for all travelers within the Khanate's extensive territories, and you diligently recorded his words. Building on this foundation of respect and understanding, the caravan's progress was becoming smoother. The positive reception of your detailed discussions about Venetian trade practices, stemming from the earlier emphasis on glass-blowing artistry in Bukhara, meant that Marco was often met with greater openness by local dignitaries and officials. This had created a more favorable environment for the caravan, fostering a sense of cautious welcome rather than suspicion, and you felt a quiet satisfaction in knowing your careful approach had contributed to this improved atmosphere. This had indeed opened doors to deeper conversations about the potential for future exchanges between Venice and these distant lands. The sheer scale of the Great Wall, stretching endlessly across the undulating hills, was truly remarkable. Its construction, a monumental feat of human labor and organization, spoke volumes about the centralized power that had brought these disparate regions under one rule. You found yourself pausing, a moment of quiet contemplation, to consider the immense effort required to erect such a fortification. What drives a people to such collective endeavors, and what are the long-term consequences of such grand visions? This question lingered as you prepared to move deeper into the territories overseen by Kublai Khan's vast empire. The air, carrying the dry scent of mountain scrub, seemed to whisper tales of ancient migrations and enduring strength. As you felt the rough texture of the earth beneath your feet during your short scouting walk, a sense of deep history settled upon you. You realized that the Mongol Empire, while a present and powerful force, was built upon layers of cultures and traditions that predated its own rise. This vast land, marked by the imposing presence of the Great Wall, was a mosaic of human endeavor, each piece contributing to the rich tapestry of its existence. Your role now was to understand and record this intricate pattern. The pragmatic lessons learned from the Armenian merchant about the vastness of trade routes beyond the familiar Mediterranean had prepared you for this moment. You understood that knowledge of local customs and administrative procedures was as valuable as any commodity you carried. The Mongol officers' sharing of caravan safety regulations was a crucial piece of this knowledge, providing practical guidance for navigating the complexities of imperial control. His directness, while initially imposing, revealed a society that valued clarity and order, qualities you are increasingly learning to appreciate and emulate in your own work. This particular phase of your journey, moving through territories marked by the Great Wall, felt like a significant transition. The lessons from Bukhara, particularly your choice to focus on the artistry of glassblowing, had clearly smoothed your path, allowing for more meaningful engagement with the people you encountered. You now felt a deeper confidence in your ability to navigate these new cultural landscapes, recognizing that understanding the heart of a people, their crafts and their values, was often the most potent form of diplomacy. The dry scent of mountain scrub and the feel of the rough earth were constant reminders of the raw beauty and enduring challenges of this region. The echoes of this experience will follow you as you prepare to enter the heart of the Khanate, the very center of Kublai Khan's immense domain. You stand before the immense presence of Kublai Khan in his summer palace at Chengdu, a city also known as Xanadu. The sheer scale of the hall, adorned with vibrant silks and intricate carvings, is breathtaking. A low murmur of many languages fills the space, a testament to the Han's vast dominion. The air here, unlike the drier plains you've crossed, carries the faint, pleasant scent of rare woods and rich perfumes, hinting at the wealth and exoticism of this empire. You feel the cool smoothness of the polished stone floor beneath your simple sandals, a grounding sensation amidst the overwhelming grandeur. The sheer variety of peoples gathered here, from merchants to scholars to warriors, demonstrates the unparalleled reach of the Mongol Empire at its height. The echoes of this experience will follow you as you prepare to enter the heart of the Khanate, the very center of Kublai Khan's immense domain. You stand before the immense presence of Kublai Khan in his summer palace at Chengdu, a city also known as Xanadu. The sheer scale of the hall, adorned with vibrant silks and intricate carvings, is breathtaking. A low murmur of many languages fills the space, a testament to the Han's vast dominion. The air here, unlike the drier plains you've crossed, carries the faint, pleasant scent of rare woods and rich perfumes, hinting at the wealth and exoticism of this empire. You feel the cool smoothness of the polished stone floor beneath your simple sandals, a grounding sensation amidst the overwhelming grandeur. The sheer variety of peoples gathered here, from merchants to scholars to warriors, demonstrates the unparalleled reach of the Mongol Empire at its height.
Marco Polo, his gaze steady, turns to you expectantly. The Khan has asked for his impressions of the lands he has traversed, and Marco has, in turn, sought your unique perspective. You recall your meticulous work on the trade ledgers back in Venice, a task that grounded your understanding of commerce, and how that diligence earned Marco's trust, leading him to share more detailed plans with you. Now, standing here, you feel the weight of that shared trust. Your mind, sharpened by the scholarly exchanges in Bukhara, where you emphasized the artistry of Venetian glasswork to a local dignitary, is abuzz with observations. You know a simple list of trade goods would suffice, but a deeper understanding, you believe, lies in the nuances of the people themselves. A decision forms, a natural extension of your growing diplomatic awareness. You choose to focus on cultural observations, believing that demonstrating an appreciation for the people's customs and aspirations will resonate more deeply with Kublai Khan than a mere enumeration of trade opportunities. This approach, you feel, will foster a more genuine connection and prove more valuable to the Khan's understanding of his diverse subjects. Your earlier choice to prioritize the artistry of glassblowing rather than its market price seems to have laid a foundation for this more nuanced approach, opening doors for deeper discussions about cultural exchange. As you begin to speak, translating Marco's general statements into more specific observations, you notice subtle shifts in the courtier's postures. A slight tilt of a head, a fleeting glance between advisors, these small gestures speak volumes. You are learning to interpret the subtle language of the court, understanding that favor can be as easily lost as gained through a misspoken word or an ill-judged observation. This constant need for keen observation, a skill honed through countless hours of sketching and note-taking, now serves you in navigating these delicate social currents. You feel a sense of accomplishment as a few of the Khan's advisors nod thoughtfully at your words, a small sign that your chosen path is yielding positive results.
Kublai Khan, his face impassive yet attentive, listens to your report. He seems particularly interested in the ways different cultures adapt to their environments, a detail you've gleaned from observing the practical ingenuity of the desert nomads and the sophisticated irrigation systems in oasis cities. You recall a spirited debate you overheard between Marco and a scholar regarding the true extent of the Khan's influence over remote regions, a discussion that highlighted the ongoing scholarly debate about the effective reach of centralized power in such a vast empire. This is not a topic for the Khan's court, but it informs your understanding of the complexities he must navigate daily. You can see the Khan's interest peaked as you describe the elaborate rituals and communal storytelling practices you encountered in a remote mountain village. The details you share about how they marked the changing seasons through song and dance offer a vivid contrast to the highly organized, almost military precision of the Mongol administration. You recall the quiet amusement you felt when one of Marco's own men, a gruff sailor from Venice, tried to mimic a particular harvest dance, his movements entirely lacking the fluidity of the villagers, leading to a moment of shared laughter amidst the serious business of travel. The Khan's expression shifts slightly, a subtle indication of his attention. He asks about the local methods for preserving food during the long winters, a practical concern that touches upon the very sustainability of his empire. You relay the methods you observed, like the drying of fruits and the salting of meats, and even a quirky local practice of fermenting wild berries to create a potent, though somewhat sour drink. This particular detail brings a flicker of something akin to amusement to the Khan's face, a rare glimpse behind his formidable composure. Marco, sensing the shift in the Khan's demeanor, offers a brief anecdote about a Venetian fisherman who developed a unique way of preserving sardines, using a brine that was both effective and surprisingly palatable. This shared interest in practical solutions, bridging vast cultural and geographical divides, creates a moment of unexpected connection.
You recognize that your decision to focus on cultural observations rather than purely economic ones has paved the way for these more personal exchanges, weaving you and Marco into the fabric of the Khan's court.
As the audience concludes, you feel a profound sense of having witnessed something significant. You have moved beyond the role of mere observer, your words carrying a weight and influence you had not anticipated. The vastness of the Mongol Empire, its intricate systems, and the human experiences within it have begun to coalesce into a more comprehensive understanding. You have become witness to the subtle art of imperial discourse. Kublai Khan has summoned you again. This time, his chambers feel less imposing, more like a study where deep thoughts are mulled. Your previous discussions about the peoples and customs of the lands you'd traversed seemed to pique his curiosity, and the respect you earned for sharing those insights has opened a new level of access. The Khan's gaze, once sharp and assessing, now holds a flicker of genuine interest as he turns from a large map spread across a table, its inked lines tracing familiar routes and unknown territories. The subtle aroma of burning incense, a blend of sandalwood and something faintly citrusy, drifts from a small burner near his desk, mingling with the rich scent of the velvet fabrics adorning the room. You feel the soft pile of a luxurious carpet beneath your feet, grounding you in the opulent surroundings. Your skills in observation and concise communication, honed during your time with Marco, now serve you well. You find yourself needing to articulate complex ideas about trade and cultural exchange with a clarity that respects the Khan's time and intellect. This involves not just recounting facts, but understanding the nuance of how information is received and valued here. You notice that a Mongol minister, a man with a weathered face and eyes that seem to hold the wisdom of many seasons, often observes these sessions from a respectful distance. He has, in subtle ways, begun to offer you counsel before your meetings, guiding you on how best to frame your thoughts for the Khan's consideration. The Mongol minister, whose name you know only as elder brother among the court staff, recently shared a cup of strong, bitter herbal tea with you. As the potent liquid warmed you, he spoke of the importance of presenting ideas not as directives, but as observations that might inform the Khan's own vast understanding. He stressed that offering solutions to challenges rather than simply identifying them would further solidify your position. This quiet guidance, shared over that bracing drink, has been invaluable, helping you anticipate the Khan's needs and respond with greater foresight. The bitter taste of the tea lingers, a reminder of the depth of knowledge available if one is willing to seek it. Your choice to focus on cultural observations rather than purely economic matters in your last meeting with Kublai Khan proved to be a wise one. The Khan, it seems, is less concerned with the immediate profit margins of Venetian glass than with the deeper connections and potential alliances that understanding peoples can foster. This past decision has led to greater trust and more direct engagement, allowing you to move beyond being merely an observer and into a role where your insights are actively sought. It's clear that your genuine interest in the diverse lives within the empire, rather than just its resources, has resonated with the Khan's own expansive vision for his realm. Building on this established trust, you now find yourself drawn into discussions that require a more nuanced understanding of the empire's internal workings. The Khan, after a period of thoughtful silence, gestures towards a section of the map detailing a newly conquered province to the south.
He expresses concern about the integration of its people and the potential for unrest, asking for your observations on how similar challenges have been managed in regions Marco Polo has described. This is a delicate area, requiring you to draw upon the knowledge you've gathered from various sources, including the caravan leaders you met and the scholars you conversed with in distant cities.
You recall the Armenian merchant you met early in your journey, who spoke of the importance of understanding local customs to build lasting trade relationships. He had mentioned how respecting existing hierarchies and traditions, even when they seemed unusual, was key to securing cooperation rather than sparking resistance. His words, coupled with the elder brother's advice on presenting information, guide your response. You consider how to convey the concept of shared governance and the value of acknowledging local leadership structures, a concept that might seem foreign but is crucial for stability within such a vast and diverse empire. The elder brother, seeing your thoughtful consideration, subtly nods. He understands the delicate balance you must maintain. Presenting a proposal for integrating local leaders into the Khan's administrative framework requires careful wording. You remember the hospitality of a chieftain in a small mountain settlement who, though his people were few, demonstrated immense pride in their ancestral traditions. You decide to use that as an example, illustrating how acknowledging and respecting these traditions can foster loyalty and create a more stable foundation than outright imposition of new rules. Your ability to convey complex information concisely and persuasively is further tested as you explain the concept of adaptive governance. You talk about how the Mongols' own success lies in their ability to incorporate diverse peoples into their empire, and how extending this principle to newly integrated territories would strengthen, not weaken, the Khan's authority. You emphasize that understanding the nuances of local customs, such as specific marriage rites or religious observances, is not merely academic. It is a vital tool for effective administration and for preventing misunderstandings that could escalate into conflict. The Khan listens intently, his fingers tracing a different route on the map, perhaps considering the implications for troop movements or supply lines. You sense that your focus on the human element, on the people who inhabit these lands, is precisely what he values. You are learning to identify key advisors not just by their titles, but by their subtle reactions to your words, observing who seems most engaged and receptive to your insights. This close observation allows you to gauge the effectiveness of your approach and adapt your communication style accordingly, ensuring your message is not lost in translation or cultural unfamiliarity. As the discussion concludes, the Khan offers a rare smile, a brief softening of his usually stern expression. He acknowledges the value of your counsel, and elder brother, seeing this, discreetly signals his approval. You feel a sense of accomplishment, not just for having pleased the Khan, but for having contributed to a deeper understanding of the human landscape of his vast empire. This growing influence, this ability to shape perspectives through careful observation and articulate wisdom, is a profound development in your journey. You carry this sense of purpose with you as the day's discussions turn to the logistics of the Khan's upcoming hunt. This passage has explored how the reader's previous focus on cultural observations has deepened their relationship with Kublai Khan,
leading to more intricate discussions about imperial administration and integration. Your deepening rapport with Kublai Khan has led to your involvement in discussions regarding the governance of newly acquired territories, building upon your reputation for astute cultural observation. A palpable tension crackled through the gathered merchants and laborers. Recently acquired bolts of fine silk, intended for trade in the northern principalities, lay in uneven piles, and the dispute over their division had festered for days. The air felt charged, not with heat, but with the frustration of those whose expectations felt unmet. You found yourself drawn to the edge of the group, your hand instinctively resting on the rough grain of a nearby wooden crate, a familiar grounding texture amidst the rising unease. The low murmurs of argument were punctuated by the sharp cries of distant gulls, a sound usually associated with the familiar comfort of the sea, now seeming out of place in this inland dispute. Marco Polo, his brow furrowed, had requested your assistance in resolving this matter. Your diligent work in organizing his ledgers and your detailed cultural observations for Kublai Khan had not gone unnoticed, and he clearly saw you as someone who could navigate such interpersonal complexities. He had, in the past, relied on your balanced perspective, a skill you had begun to cultivate since your early days deciphering trade routes. This situation, however, felt different, a more immediate and personal challenge to the harmony of the caravan, and you felt the weight of his trust.
Part of you recoiled from the intensity of the disagreements, the sharp words and narrowed eyes creating a sense of unease. Yet your growing understanding of the peoples you encountered, fostered by those earlier conversations with the scholar in Bukhara about their traditions of community and shared responsibility, urged you forward. He had spoken of how even small disputes could unravel the fabric of a group if not handled with care and consideration. And this memory resonated deeply within you as you observed the current discord. You chose to approach the situation not by strictly enforcing Marco's initial division, which had been based on market values and projected needs, but could feel impersonal to those involved. Instead, you felt a stronger pull towards a more adaptable strategy. This path involved listening to each individual's specific contribution to the acquisition of these goods, acknowledging their efforts, and then proposing a division that allowed for some adjustment based on those varied inputs, even if it risked a degree of complexity. You believed this approach, one that mirrored the reciprocal generosity you had witnessed, would foster more lasting goodwill. Moving closer, you addressed the gathered group, your voice steady. "Brothers and sisters of the caravan," you began, your tone calm. You then recalled the shared success of acquiring these silks, highlighting the unified effort that brought them to this point, a reminder of their collective strength. You also subtly referenced the differing needs and origins of the goods themselves, suggesting that a single, rigid distribution might not serve everyone equally well, a point that had been gently made to you by a seasoned trader earlier that day, whose knowledge of regional customs you had come to respect. One merchant, whose face was etched with weariness, voiced his concern that a more flexible division would unfairly benefit those who had less to contribute. His hands, calloused and stained with dye from his own craft, gestured emphatically as he spoke. This was a valid point, and you understood his apprehension. After all, you had seen how meticulous fairness in your own ledger keeping had brought order. This concern was a new facet of the problem, something not solely about market value, but about perceived equity. To address this, you proposed a system of designated negotiators for specific types of goods, individuals who understood the nuances of those particular items and could consult with those most affected. This would allow for informed adjustments, while still maintaining an oversight structure, similar to how the Mongol officials you'd observed in Chengdu used advisors to manage complex affairs. You felt a surge of hope that this layered approach might satisfy the need for both fairness and personalized consideration. You recalled the hospitality of Empress Chabi's attendants during your earlier visit. They had possessed a remarkable ability to anticipate needs and offer subtle gifts or gestures that smoothed over potential awkwardness, a skill you now tried to emulate. The memory of the fragrant jasmine in her garden, a stark contrast to the tense atmosphere here, also offered a mental respite, a reminder of the beauty that could exist when harmony prevailed. You then turned your attention to a group of laborers who had played a crucial role in securing the goods from a challenging mountain pass. Their initial compensation had been agreed upon, but the sheer effort involved, which you had personally observed and noted, suggested a case for additional recognition. You spoke of their tenacity, how their efforts had been indispensable, and proposed a small allocation of the finer silks specifically for them, acknowledging their unique contribution. This was a departure from standard practice, but one that felt right. This act of acknowledging their specific hardship and contribution, drawing on your growing understanding of diverse cultural values, seemed to shift the atmosphere. A few of the merchants who had initially opposed the flexible approach nodded slowly, their expressions softening. They had seen firsthand the laborers' struggles, and your articulation of their value resonated. The distinct cooing of doves from a nearby roost, a gentle sound that usually went unnoticed, now seemed to underscore the easing of tension. The proposal for designated negotiators also began to gain traction. A skilled artisan from the northern principalities, known for his eye for detail and his calm demeanor, volunteered to oversee the division of the finest quality silks. His reputation for fairness was well established, and his willingness to take on this responsibility was a positive development, a sign that your suggestions were being heard and accepted. You felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. The harsh words had softened, replaced by more thoughtful discussion. The dispute was not entirely gone, but it had transformed from a confrontational standoff into a collaborative problem-solving effort. The sharp edges of discord were being smoothed by a shared willingness to find a workable solution, a testament to the power of considering each person's perspective. The process of sorting and dividing the silks continued, but now with a spirit of cooperation rather than animosity. You watched as the chosen negotiators began their work, their conversations quieter and more focused. The air, while still carrying the scent of wool and the faint aroma of dried fruit from earlier preparations, no longer felt strained. You felt a sense of purpose in your role, realizing that bridging these divides was as important as any trade negotiation. The weight of ensuring caravan unity settles into your understanding. You accompany Marco to a reception hosted by Empress Chabi. Her gardens are a tranquil oasis, filled with the sweet scent of blooming jasmine and the gentle chirping of unseen insects.
The cool touch of jade artifacts is memorable, a stark contrast to the dusty paths you've traveled. The rustle of silk robes announces the approach of attendants, their faces a mixture of deference and curiosity as they lead you through shaded walkways. You have refined your understanding of diplomatic gift-giving and the subtle language of hospitality. You can distinguish the sound of a peacock's cry from other bird calls, a skill sharpened by your close attention to the subtle cues of the court. This careful observation helps you gauge the mood of those around you, a quiet anticipation of what may unfold during this meeting. You engage with the Empress's attendants, learning about her influence and her appreciation for foreign crafts. They speak of her keen interest in the wider world, a curiosity that mirrors your own journey. They show you exquisite pieces of pottery, explaining their origins and the care taken in their creation, fostering a sense of connection to the land and its people.
You present a small, intricately carved wooden bird, an item you acquired earlier in a bustling marketplace. Its smooth texture and delicate form represent the artistry of the common people, a gesture meant to show respect for the Empress's broad understanding of her realm. The attendants examine it with polite interest, their murmurs indicating their approval of its craftsmanship. Your flexible mediation approach in the caravan dispute proves successful, fostering a greater sense of unity and cooperation amongst its members. This understanding that compromise and consideration for individual needs can lead to stronger bonds informs your interactions here. It's a lesson learned from the earthier realities of trade, now applied to the more refined diplomacy of the imperial court. The Empress's personal attendants, women who have served her for years, share insights into her preferences. They explain that while grand treasures are always appreciated, gifts that carry a story or demonstrate a deep understanding of culture often hold greater favor. This advice resonates with your own growing belief that true connection lies not just in material wealth, but in shared experience and mutual respect. This understanding of the Empress's character helps you frame your discussion with Marco about future trade. You explain that showcasing Venetian craftsmanship, like the glass-blowing you admired previously, should be paired with narratives about the people who create these goods. Such an approach, you suggest, would not only highlight the beauty of the items, but also the shared humanity that connects distant peoples. The attendants nod thoughtfully as you speak, their expressions reflecting a deeper engagement with your words. One of them, a woman with kind eyes, gestures towards a low table laden with fruits. She offers you a slice of a pear, its flesh crisp and subtly sweet, a refreshing taste that complements the fragrant air of the garden and the engaging conversation. As the reception concludes, you feel a quiet sense of accomplishment. The subtle nods of approval from the Empress's close circle, the genuine interest in the wooden bird you presented, all indicate that your efforts are bearing fruit. Your journey from a mere scribe to someone who can navigate the delicate currents of imperial favor has been gradual, built upon careful observation and thoughtful action. The contrast between the rough wool of your traveling cloak and the soft silk of the cushions where you sat during the reception underscores the vastness of the world you are experiencing. Each encounter, each new piece of knowledge adds another layer to your understanding, shaping your perspective on the intricate tapestry of cultures and peoples that stretch across the known lands. You find yourself changed by what you've encountered, carrying the Empress's graciousness and the garden's peace with you. The caravan was preparing to move south, a region known for its rough trails and the occasional danger of those who preyed on travelers. A light rain had fallen recently, leaving the earth damp and the footing uncertain. You felt the slickness of the wet stones under your sandals as you walked toward the gathered animals and carts, the air carrying the fresh, clean scent of moist earth. This departure marked a new phase of the journey, one that would test your growing understanding of navigating unfamiliar territories and the people who called them home. Marco Polo had approached you earlier that morning, his gaze steady as he laid out a critical decision for the upcoming leg of the journey. Two potential guides had presented themselves, each offering their services for the treacherous southern path. The first was a man named Kael, a local whose reputation for knowing every ridge and ravine in the region was unmatched. However, his price was steep, and whispers suggested he was demanding. The second candidate was younger, a fellow named Han, eager to prove his worth and asking for a far more modest sum, though his experience was less tested. A part of you, remembering the careful planning that had served the caravan well thus far, leaned towards Kael's undeniable expertise. The thought of navigating unfamiliar terrain without a seasoned guide felt like inviting trouble. Yet, the memory of the Armenian merchant's words from your days on the Aegean Sea echoed. His insistence on the value of local knowledge shared willingly and fairly. He had spoken of how sometimes the greatest treasures were found not in the most expensive goods, but in the most reliable partnerships. You found yourself torn between the certainty of Kael's skill and the potential of Ron's earnestness, a familiar internal debate about value versus cost. Your decision in Constantinople to secure quality Byzantine pigments over cheaper alternatives had ultimately paid off in fostering goodwill, reinforcing the idea that sometimes investing more upfront yielded greater returns. That experience offered a framework for this new choice, pushing you towards a path that prioritized proven reliability, even with its higher initial expense for the safety of everyone. Therefore, you conveyed your preference to Marco. Kael was the guide you trusted for the southern route. Your reasoning was simple yet firm. The potential risks of poorly chosen paths or missed dangers in this territory were too great to gamble on unproven talent. The smooth stone of a nearby wall felt cool against your hand as you made this judgment, a physical grounding for the mental deliberation. This decision, you felt, would ensure the caravan's progress remained steady and secure, building upon the careful groundwork laid in earlier stages of your journey. The caravan master, a stern but fair man named Timur, acknowledged his choice with a nod. He, too, had expressed concerns about the southern routes, and Kael's name had been spoken with respect among the seasoned travelers. Timur had shared with you his own anxieties about maintaining cohesion within the caravan, a challenge you understood intimately after your successful mediation during the dispute over distributed goods. That experience, where your flexible approach had fostered cooperation, had shown you the power of careful judgment and earned you his quiet confidence. As Kael joined the caravan's leadership, his presence was a subtle but significant shift. He spoke with a quiet authority, his eyes constantly scanning the horizon and the ground beneath their feet, an instinct honed by years of traversing these lands. The air around him seemed to hum with a contained energy, a readiness for the challenges ahead. You observed his interactions with the pack animals, his gentle yet firm handling of the camels, and felt a sense of reassurance. It was a stark contrast to the more boisterous interactions you'd witnessed with guides in other regions. Kale began briefing the caravan leaders on the day's planned route, pointing out specific landmarks and potential hazards. He spoke of ancient riverbeds that could become torrents after rain, and of narrow passes where ambushes were more likely. You listened intently, your scribe's training kicking in, mentally noting the key points and the specific terminology he used, which was new to your ears. The distinctive song of a cuckoo, a clear, fluting sound, drifted from a nearby cluster of trees, a brief moment of natural melody against the practical talk of the road. Your attention was drawn to a group of merchants discussing their wares, specifically some finely woven silks that had been acquired from a northern principality. They were debating the best way to protect them from the elements during the journey, an echo of the discussions you'd helped to settle. The memory of Empress Chabi's gracious reception and the delicate appreciation she showed for the gifts exchanged reinforced your understanding of how preservation and presentation mattered, not just for the goods themselves, but for the respect they represented. One of the merchants, a man whose beard was streaked with gray, lamented the lack of readily available sturdy packing materials. He sighed, running a hand over the rough texture of a bundled carpet, wishing for something more protective. You recalled an unusual detail from your time in the opulent court of Kublai Khan, the use of a specially treated water-resistant paper made from mulberry bark, which the Khan's scribes used for official documents. It was a fascinating, if seemingly impractical, detail at the time, but it sparked an idea now. You approached the merchant, a thought forming in your mind. Perhaps, you began, your voice measured, there is a way to create such protection. In the imperial capital, I observed scribes using a remarkable paper, crafted from mulberry bark, treated to resist dampness. It was strong yet pliable. This observation, a small piece of knowledge gleaned from your time observing the emperor's affairs, offered a potential solution to their immediate problem, a tangible link between the grandeur of the court and the practical needs of the caravan. The merchant's eyes widened, and he turned to his companions, the conversation shifting from complaint to curiosity. This small interaction, born from your careful observation and now shared, demonstrated how diverse experiences could converge to solve immediate problems. It was a subtle but important aspect of diplomacy, understanding different needs and connecting them to solutions, even unexpected ones. The taste of a small, sweet berry you'd been given earlier, tart and refreshing, lingered as you continued to listen to the merchants. The debate amongst scholars in Bukhara about the most effective methods of preserving delicate goods, a conversation you had found both enlightening and a bit perplexing at the time, now seemed to have practical application. That scholarly exchange had been rich with differing opinions, some favoring natural materials, others advocating for more processed treatments.
It highlighted the ongoing scholarly debate of the era. Was it better to rely on the tried and true methods of nature, or to embrace innovation and craft, even at the risk of altering the natural state of things? As the caravan began to stir, with the lowing of animals and the shouts of handlers, Kael signaled for the final preparations. You felt the weight of the reins in your hand as you settled onto your own camel, the rough weave of the saddle blanket a familiar comfort. The southern route promised to be challenging, but with Kael's guidance and the growing understanding of how to leverage your experiences, you felt prepared. This process of observing, learning, and applying knowledge has become part of your own story. You stand on the edge of Dadu, the colossal capital of Kublai Khan's empire, a city that hums with the energy of 1,000 interconnected lives. Its walls, stretching farther than your eyes can easily measure, enclose a realm of order and immense power. The air here carries a complex blend of smells: the savory richness of roasting meats from street vendors, the sweet, comforting aroma of freshly baked pastries, and beneath it all, the faint, dry scent of coal smoke, a testament to the constant fires fueling this vast metropolis. Beneath your worn sandals, the perfectly cut paving stones feel cool and remarkably smooth, each one laid with meticulous care, reflecting the pervasive discipline of the Great Khan's administration. You feel a sense of deep accomplishment, knowing your journey has brought you to this heart of a world far beyond the familiar waters of Venice.
The procession into Dadu was a testament to the skills you have honed, a direct result of the careful observations you made during the caravan's journey south. Your decision to trust the seasoned, albeit expensive, guide proved wise. His intimate knowledge of the terrain, far surpassing the younger man's untested claims, allowed the caravan to navigate past unseen pitfalls and potential dangers, ensuring the safe arrival of the delicate goods you had taken measures to protect. This protection, a method inspired by the way scholars in Bukhara had preserved ancient manuscripts from moisture, involved carefully wrapping certain items in treated animal hides, a technique you'd suggested after recalling the scholars' mention of their remarkable resilience to dampness. This practical application of learned knowledge solidified your reputation for foresight. As you moved through the city's wide, orderly avenues, you observed the faces of the people, a vibrant tapestry of ethnicities, each bearing the marks of their distinct cultures, yet all existing under the singular authority of the Mongol rule. Your ability to communicate the value of Venetian glasswork, which you presented to a high-ranking official earlier, was now amplified by your understanding of the subtle nuances of Mongol diplomacy. You had learned to frame discussions not merely around trade itself, but around the benefits of cultural exchange and the potential for lasting alliances. A diplomatic approach that had opened doors to scholars and administrators alike. This enhanced understanding allowed you to engage in more meaningful exchanges, moving beyond simple observations to nuanced discussions about trade routes and administrative practices. You recall your earlier choice to emphasize the artistry of glassblowing in Bukhara rather than its monetary value, a decision that had paved the way for deeper appreciation of Venetian craftsmanship among the Khanate's elite.
Now, in Dadu, this foundation of respect allowed you to articulate the potential for increased trade between Venice and this vast empire, speaking of mutual benefit and shared prosperity. You felt a sense of purpose in these interactions, a quiet satisfaction in bridging the vast distances that separated your homelands.
The presence of the Empress Chabi's attendants at various court functions had also provided valuable insights into the inner workings of the imperial court. Their polite demeanor and keen awareness of protocol, which you had observed during the reception in her gardens, informed your own interactions. You understood now how a well-chosen gift, like the intricately carved wooden bird you had presented, could speak volumes about a sender's intentions and respect. This understanding of subtle communication, coupled with your growing grasp of the different languages spoken within the empire, made your role increasingly significant, allowing you to act as a more effective conduit for Marco Polo's dealings with the Great Khan. Your journey had indeed been a transformative odyssey, one that had broadened your horizons immeasurably. From the bustling docks of Venice, you had traversed countless lands, encountered diverse peoples, and learned to navigate complex social structures. The skills you had diligently acquired, from deciphering new languages to understanding the intricacies of trade and diplomacy, had not only served Marco Polo, but had also shaped you into a capable representative. You felt a profound connection to the vast network of cultures and economies that comprised the Silk Road, recognizing the shared humanity that linked even the most distant communities. The Great Khan himself had taken notice of your detailed reports and insightful observations, offering you opportunities to speak directly with him and his most trusted advisors. Your initial decision to focus on cultural observations when first presenting yourself to the Khan in Shangdu had been met with evident interest, prompting further discussions about the customs and aspirations of the peoples you had encountered. This trust, built over time through consistent diligence and thoughtful contributions, had allowed you to understand the inner workings of this formidable empire, from its administrative structures to its vast military might. The Great Khan himself had taken notice of your detailed reports and insightful observations, offering you opportunities to speak directly with him and his most trusted advisors. Your initial decision to focus on cultural observations when first presenting yourself to the Khan in Shangdu had been met with evident interest, prompting further discussions about the customs and aspirations of the peoples you had encountered. This trust, built over time through consistent diligence and thoughtful contributions, had allowed you to understand the inner workings of this formidable empire, from its administrative structures to its vast military might. You found yourself discussing trade policy with a Mongol minister, a wise elder who offered you counsel on the most effective ways to convey complex information to the Khan. He shared the taste of a strong, bitter herbal tea with you as you strategized, his words a blend of ancient wisdom and pragmatic advice. This mentorship, a direct consequence of the Khan's favor, had refined your ability to present information concisely and persuasively, teaching you to navigate the delicate balance of courtly protocol and to identify the key advisors whose opinions held weight with the emperor. The knowledge you gained in these quiet discussions was as valuable as any trade good.
A recent dispute within the caravan regarding the division of newly acquired goods from a northern principality had also provided a practical arena for your developing diplomatic skills. Your decision to advocate for a flexible approach, allowing for renegotiation based on individual contributions and needs, rather than a strict adherence to Marco's initial plan, had proven successful. This choice, stemming from an understanding of local customs of sharing and cooperation that you had learned about from the scholar and Bukhara, fostered a greater sense of unity and mutual respect among the caravan members, demonstrating the power of empathy in resolving conflict. Reflecting on your arrival in Dadu, you realize how far you have come from that initial eagerness in Venice. You have witnessed the immense power and organization of the Mongol Empire at its peak, a complex system that brought together diverse peoples and lands under a single banner. You have learned to listen, to observe, and to communicate effectively across cultural divides, playing a small but significant role in fostering understanding between different worlds. The journey has been one of constant learning, adaptation, and growth, leaving you with a deep appreciation for the interconnectedness of nations and the shared human spirit that travels with them. The taste of a rare fruit, a gift from a grateful merchant in the southern regions after your successful navigation through its challenging routes, lingers on your tongue, a sweet memory of your transformative odyssey, a testament to the lasting impressions forged on this grand voyage. You have touched something larger than yourself. As our shared journey along the legendary Silk Road draws to a close, imagine yourself at Marco Polo's side. You've witnessed the vibrant tapestry of cultures unfurling as you traveled, from bustling caravanserai to tranquil mountain passes. You've stood in awe within the opulent courts of Kublai Khan, observing the intricate workings of an empire and the fascinating customs of its people. Now, as the stars begin to pepper the vast desert sky, just as they did for those ancient travelers, let the memories of these encounters settle within you. The gentle sway of a camel train, the murmur of unfamiliar tongues, the quiet dignity of a Khan. Let these echoes lull you. Just as Marco Polo eventually found his way home, guided by the stars and the knowledge gained, may you now drift peacefully into your own restful slumber. May your dreams be as rich and varied as the lands we've traversed together. Sleep soundly.